The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions, delivering a dominating performance against the two-time defending Kansas City Chiefs, denying them the coveted three-peat by a score of 40-22. This was a total demolition. This was belt to ass. This was take them out back, put them out of their misery. This was a complete, utter destruction of the Kansas City Chiefs. And the final score of 40-22 is much closer than what the actual game played out to be on Sunday in New Orleans. Vic Fangio's defense set the tone from the jump and shut down the Kansas City offense led by Patrick Mahomes, and this was part of a complete dominating performance where the Eagles got up 24-0 at half, even held a 34-0 score. And particularly this Philadelphia defense made Patrick Mahomes have a historically bad first half. He took 3 sacks through 2 interceptions, one being a pick six, and had just 33 passing yards at the end of the first half, where 11 of those came on the very first play. This is the offensive sequence for the Kansas City Chiefs. It goes punt, 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 pick six, punt, interception, and another punt. This is completely unheard of for a Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid-led team. And clearly, the offensive line stood no chance against this Eagles defensive front. And while Matt Nagy and the offense focus on shutting down Jalen Carter, who was basically limited to just 2 quarterback hits with various double teams, even holding him at times, this allowed the rest of Vic Fangio's defense to flourish. Guys like Josh Sweat, Milton Williams dominated throughout the entire night. And let's talk about Josh Sweat for a second, because Josh Sweat was in trade talks to start off the 2024 offseason. He's a very streaky player, as many Eagles fans may know. And it wasn't the best year in 2023, and many thought that he may not be back because already the Eagles traded away Hassan Reddick and they thought they would just start anew even with Josh Sweat. But instead, they restructured his deal to a 1-year, $10 million deal. And like I said again, he had a streaky 2024 season. He was quiet to start, got really hot in the middle part of the year, but then did not have a sack since the beginning of December. But in this Super Bowl, he had the game of his life, 2.5 sacks, and what a phenomenal performance where one of his quarterback hits on Mahomes actually altered the throw, and it was an interception into the waiting arms of first-team All-Pro linebacker Zach Bond. 2 more sacks from Milton Williams and another from Jordan Davis culminated a 6-sack night, and one of them was a strip sack on Patrick Mahomes, and the Eagles defensive line got after Mahomes early and often. They pressured him 17 times, hit him 11 times, and forced 2 interceptions. This was a Vic Fangio masterpiece. He did not call a single blitz. He got pressure consistently with 4 guys. I know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may have created the blueprint to stop Patrick Mahomes. They had this phenomenal performance in Super Bowl 55, but this Eagles performance in Super Bowl 59, they took the Bucs blueprint, refined it, and perfected it. Because, like I said, this performance, just getting home with just 4 guys, allowing the rest of your defense to sit back into zone and force guys to beat the zone, where we've seen these pass catches for the Chiefs not do that consistently this season. The defensive backs blanketed the Chiefs receivers as they got 0 separation, and every time Mahomes dropped back in the pocket, there was somebody in his face. Only when his receivers were 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, Mahomes was already stepping up in the pocket, moving off his spot. He never got comfortable in this game. He had the happy feet throughout the entirety of the night, and it showed. He was rattled early and often, and he never seemed to get into the flow of the game. There was a series of catastrophic events where Mahomes was stacked twice by Josh Sweat and then a half sack with Josh Sweat and SB LIX. But it was 3rd down and 16, and Mahomes is rolling out due to pressure and already off his spot. And he just fails to see Cooper DeJean sitting back and cuts off the route, intercepts the ball, and Cooper DeJean does what he does with his return and takes it back for a pick six on his birthday in Super Bowl 59. This puts the Eagles up 17-0, and another pick, like I said, from Zach Bond was converted into a touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown to go up 24-0 into halftime. To summarize this Chiefs offense in the first half, they were restricted to just 23 yards and only 1 first down in the entirety of the half. Mahomes looked like he was seeing ghosts. In fact, they never even crossed midfield until the end of the third quarter. Vic Fangio has done a great job, especially when the Eagles play on turf. In fact, the Eagles dominated on artificial turf throughout the entirety of the year, only allowing 11.4 points a game. And this is when we remember that the Super Bowl that these two teams met up 2 years ago in Super Bowl 57, where Mahomes and the Chiefs offense had their way with a Eagles pass rush that put up 70 sacks in a single season. But remember, that field was oversaturated with water and it was basically a slip and slide, and it took away the Eagles' greatest strength, which was their pass rush. And you could see that Hassan Reddick and the rest of the pass rushers for the Eagles had no traction to provide any type of rush on Patrick Mahomes. In Super Bowl 59, it's in the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, artificial turf, and Mahomes was under siege throughout the entirety of the night. This was a Vic Fangio masterpiece. And that 0-8 record, you can throw it out the window. It's an afterthought after this dominant performance, where his defense in this entire postseason forced 13 turnovers. Each game they have forced at least 2 turnovers, and they're going up against pretty good quarterbacks. Jordan Love, in the wild card round, they went up against Matthew Stafford and Jaden Daniels in the NFC Championship game. And in the Super Bowl, you go up against Patrick Mahomes, who's regarded as the next GOAT, the greatest quarterback of this generation. And throughout this entire game, Mahomes never got comfortable. He was off his mark. He was rushing throws, never got his feet set. And this is a Super Bowl performance to remember, a dominant defensive performance, and credit to Vic Fangio. I mean, this guy has been a coach in the NFL for nearly 40 years, and we've seen him be part of various teams and various defenses with various players, but got close in 2012 with the San Francisco 49ers, but didn't get it done in this very stadium in New Orleans, and kind of ventured around. He eventually got his head coaching gig with the Denver Broncos, didn't really work out, but decided to take a gig with the Miami Dolphins, and many Dolphins players did not like Vic Fangio's coaching style. It was too hard, and for whatever reason, he was fired and cut out from the Miami Dolphins staff, and eventually returned home to Philadelphia, where he has roots. And day one, he talked about what his philosophy was with the defense and how he'd like to implement that with the entire defensive roster, and look at the results. They bought into the scheme. They were so dominant. This is the youngest defense in the entire NFL, and he turned it into the league's top-rated defense, points allowed and total yards. The final stats make this a lot closer than it actually was. There was 2 garbage time touchdowns, but when the game was already out of hand, when the Eagles were up 34-0 at that point. Take a bow, Vic Fangio. I mean, this defense really changed the tide in this game, and honestly put on one of the best defensive clinics I've ever seen in a Super Bowl.